Hey everybody, Spidey here, and I hope you're having a marvelous day. Welcome to another edition of the Marvel Card News. We have multiple headline news to discuss up next. First off, news that I have been waiting to deliver to the community for some time now, which is that CGC has hired my friend of the channel, Fausto Badio Nuevo, also known on Instagram as Sketch Card Hive and Facebook as Norn Rad, the one and only Silver Surfer collector, but he is the professor of Marvel cards. His title at CGC is Marvel Card Expert and Senior Consultant, and he is just that. He has been a friend of the community of Marvel cards for many, many years now, a collector for probably almost 30 something years now, someone who has a vast array of knowledge about Marvel cards. It is Norn, and we now know that CGC will soon be grading Marvel cards, and that we can take a lot of comfort in the fact that at the helm, their expert is none other than Fausto Badio Nuevo. Now, CGC did not actually announce that they're grading Marvel cards. We don't know when they're going to start accepting submissions for cards. We don't know what the cost is going to be, but we do have some insight on what the grading scale is going to be, because in their promotional or news article about Fausto Badio Nuevo being their Marvel card expert, we can see some of the cards being graded here, and we see a 9. We see the subgrades. We see that the font is going to be similar to the font that we see on our comic books, and that the labels are going to be blue. We also see a 10 of a Joe Jusko Spider-Man in the background. More to come about those cards in the future. Again, just know that I'm very excited to deliver this news. I think it's really important for the community that we're going to be able to grade Marvel cards that are in similar slabs as our favorite comic books, because the comic books, they're the source material of the comic card. So congratulations to Fausto, and congratulations to the community that we're going to be able to start grading cards with CGC, and that we know that from an expert interpretation of the card and what it is, we've got Fausto overseeing all of that, which is just a real blessing, which causes me to be very excited about the future of grading cards with CGC. The other big news that we got that we have been waiting on is the fact that we got the Spider-Man medal checklist. That information released also earlier this week, and we've already had a lot of fun diving into that checklist. Here's some of the notable aspects of the checklist. Now, we knew that this setup of these cards were going to be similar to the X-Men medal release, and sure enough, we see that with a low series of 100 cards, a high series of 200. But what makes up the 100 characters of the base set is really what caught most of people's attention. And what we see is the fact that so many Avengers are going to be in the checklist. Practically everyone that was a hero in the MCU made it into this checklist. We're talking about Ant-Man, Black Widow, Black Panther, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Daredevil, Doctor Strange, Falcon, Hawkeye, Hulk and Iron Man, Thor, Vision, War Machine, and even Winter Soldier. It's just awesome to see so many of our favorite Avengers in this set. You might ask yourself, like, why is Upper Deck putting so many Avengers into a Spider-Man set in the base cards? Well, the reason I think we're seeing that is twofold. Number one, they want to build value in these boxes, meaning they want the vast majority of the characters to be characters that the collector and the community recognize and want to see. Number two, it's because the metal product henceforth will supposedly be the only product that we get the very valuable and desirable PMGs. Now, PMGs is a highly collectible trading card that many, even outside of Marvel cards, desire. And so it brings value into the product when most of the PMGs are going to be characters that people recognize. And that didn't happen in X-Men Metal. In X-Men Metal, you got past 3 or 4 or 5 characters, and most of the PMGs were not characters that the general public would recognize. But by adding these Avengers into the checklist, it's bringing a lot of value, because even people who are not comic book fans or Marvel card fans will recognize these characters. And the PMG brand from a trading card set standpoint expands beyond Marvel cards. Other major notable characters that are on the base checklist include X-Men, Beast, and Magneto. I remember Beast and Magneto both being in the Spider-Man storylines in the comic books, but it is pretty odd to see Magneto entered into this base checklist. But I kind of dig it, to be honest with you. I'm a Magneto fan. Other characters that you've seen on Disney Plus recently include Moon Knight and Ms. Marvel and She-Hulk, and all three are in the base checklist. Another character that we're seeing in this checklist and we'll probably see in the MCU soon is Ironheart. But a few other notables is Sentry and the villain Null. Null is a great new addition into this Spider-Man set. He was not in 2017 for reasons, because this is a newer character, but he blew up and he's been pretty big in the comic book world, primarily in the Venom storyline. But it's cool to see him here on the checklist. The biggest name that we saw on the checklist that we didn't know we were going to get, because this is Spider-Man metal, is none other than Wolverine. Wolverine made the base checklist as card number 100, and outside of Spider-Man, he'll likely be the most desired card if the art lands well. Wolverine cards have sold pretty well in X-Men metal, particularly the green PMGs, routinely selling for around $5,000, and the one of one has, there's some rumor sales of what it sold for, which was pretty big. So to see Wolverine in the Spider-Man metal checklist is a lot of fun. To think that we're going to get, hopefully, really good art of a Wolverine base card. We'll also see Wolverine in the Palladium set. And in fact, the Wolverine Palladium from X-Men metal was one of my favorite Wolverine cards in that set. So really cool to see that he is going to be in the Spider-Man metal set. And that adds a ton of value to these boxes, because again, he is the second most popular character in Marvel cards that routinely does really, really well in the secondary market. Now, one of the notable names that we didn't see, but doesn't mean we won't see in the set, is the black suit Spider-Man, the symbiote suit Spider-Man. Now, it doesn't mean that one of these cards that say Spider-Man won't be a black suit Spider-Man, but just a general reading of the checklist does not make it obvious that we'll see our favorite Peter Parker in his black suit. I hope we do. Honestly, I don't know if I want to see it in the base set, because I want the high and the low series Spider-Man both to be the red and blue suit Spider-Man. Now, two more things about Spider-Man metal before we move on to our next bit of news is that, number one, the checklist indicated a little over 50 artists on the checklist, and that has been confirmed to me that that is not the full list of artists. So if you didn't see your favorite artists listed in the checklist, it doesn't mean they won't be there. We just don't have that full artist list yet. And thank goodness we don't, because that list was far too short for what we believe is going to be the print run of sketch cards, which are going to be one per case. And there should be a little over 4,000 cases. So we definitely need more than 50 artists to supply that amount of sketch cards. And the last thing about Spider-Man metal is that my friend JB, Cardboard After Dark on Instagram, shared this with me this weekend, that he found in some site online where they were selling Spider-Man metal, and it was an image of what looks to be the pack art, like the art for the actual packs. And it is a gorgeous rendition of Spider-Man. I really hope that this actual art is in the set, and if it's the low series card, it's going to be a home run to me. But even if it's just the pack art, it is just gorgeous. Now with X-Men metal, the pack art was Jean Grey, Marvel Girl, and that art actually did not make it on any card in the set. So maybe that happens again this time, but I'm hoping that it doesn't, and that we actually see this card in the set. Now, another bit of news that I was not anticipating getting this week was the fact that Upper Deck has solicited artists to do sketches for a new set called Midnight Suns. Now, Midnight Suns is a video game that's coming out, and I do believe there may be something in the Disney Plus timeline for a Midnight Suns type deal. However, Midnight Suns, the comic books, is made up of your macabre, your dark, your creatures of the night type of characters. We're talking about Blade, Ghost Rider, Vengeance, Johnny Blaze, Ella Bloodstone, Morbius, Doctor Strange, Dr. Voodoo, Man-Thing, and maybe even Wolverine, because we see him listed in the video game, and he was in some of the comic books. So it's a cool little array of characters with a cool theme of kind of that creatures of the night, creatures of the dark, magical, demonic type characters that you see in Midnight Suns run, because you got Mephisto, Hellstrom, that kind of the good versus evil, but the good has kind of got a little dark in them as well in the Midnight Suns runs. So with that, we don't know what that set's going to look like. Is it going to be an e-pack only release? Will there be any type of widespread distribution? We don't know any of that type of information. We do know that sketch cards are being solicited from the artists. Also this week, we also received the sales sheet of WandaVision. Now, we previously announced that WandaVision was going to be released. It was a little bit of an excerpt with what was going to be in that release from Cardboard Connection. We don't have a checklist, but we do have the sales sheet. And the sales sheet gives us a look at these cards for the first time. So I'm going to show those here for you to take a glance at. And we see film sale cards, we see artist autograph cards, and it's all going to be focused on the TV series from WandaVision. So you're not going to get comic book type stuff. However, the sketch cards will likely have comic book versions of the cards, but I was corrected. These sets still will not have a likeness of the actual actress and actor because of Marvel licensing and things like that. It is very difficult to get the artist's likeness approved as a sketch card. You can do it with the TV because all that's been approved, it's been released, but to have an artist do a likeness of the character and have Marvel approve it is really, really difficult, because it probably actually involves the actor and actress themselves approving the individual one-on-one sketch card, and that would be too burdensome. But even still, we'll likely get comic book versions of these characters on sketch cards, but the actual cards will be movie steals with a ton of autos, it looks like, and number cards. And now to my favorite time of the week for the Marvel card news, and that is the Instagram account of the week. And that goes to none other than Ferrari Power 2005. Now this account feels like a hidden gem with just a treasure of Marvel cards to dig through, because they're hidden amongst some of the sports cards. And Ferrari Power 2005 has just some of the most amazing Marvel cards, especially from a graded standpoint. We're talking about PSA 10 low pops from 9DMU. We're talking about BGS 9.5s, including a BGS 9.5 of the 1992 Uncanny X-Men Jim Lee autograph Wolverine. To put it in perspective, he has the 9.5, but on PSA there's only 2 PSA 9s, no 10s, so this is a really special card for him to have. Go check out Ferrari Power 2005, because you're going to see a lot of cool both vintage 90s and modern Marvel cards, all in high grade, on his Instagram account. And tell him Spidey sent you and give him a follow as well. Now, before we leave this week in the news, I want to thank everyone who came out to celebrate the fact that the Spidey Hits channel has reached 3,000 subscribers. Tuesday night on the Marvel Show, we had the best time. The chat actually had over 17,000 chats as we were doing big time giveaways, having a lot of fun. We had well over 150 people in the stream at any given time throughout the night, and even had a pretty climactic end where the stream ended as we were doing the biggest giveaway. We had to go back live again, but everyone was so fun and gracious. I had a blast. It's definitely one of my favorite moments on the YouTube channel. And again, I just wanted to thank everybody. Thank you all for subscribing and supporting the channel. It does mean a lot. If you're new to the channel and you're just finding here, it's almost all Marvel cards all the time for us. So if you like this kind of content, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button and leave me a comment. If you hear of any news that you want to make sure is told to the community, shoot me a message either on Facebook, on the Spidey Hits Facebook channel, either on Instagram, or you can leave me a comment down below. And lastly, this week on Saturday Morning Marvel Cards, I got a real treat for you guys. So you're going to want to tune in to see what we're going to talk about. To put it in perspective, or to kind of set it up, build a little drama, we're going to honor someone who PSA has honored for their Marvel card collection. So come join us Saturday morning for Saturday Morning Marvel Cards, and let's have a good time. Well, that's been another episode of the Marvel Card News. Thank you for watching, and as always, I hope you have a marvelous day.